Good morning. Today is Sunday, June 14th, and I am 24 weeks pregnant today. And 1 year ago today, my dad transitioned from this earth. And I really had been telling myself for the last couple of weeks that every day since he's been gone has been hard. And I have missed him so much. So I didn't expect today to be particularly challenging or different. But I woke up this morning with just this really heavy sense of grief. And I wanted to share today because I feel like when I am open and honest and share, it can help others, but it's totally selfish because it helps me process what I'm feeling. The last year has been really tough. My dad and I had grown really close. Especially over, I would say, the last 10 years. And he was my my sounding board. And for better or worse, I am so much like him. So, yeah, it's been a year, and I guess I feel some sadness today because it's like as time passes, it just feels more permanent. Obviously, I know that death, he's not coming back, but when you first lose someone, it doesn't feel real. You keep expecting them to come back. And there have been so many times when, I used to call my dad, especially on my commutes, and when we just talk, he could talk for a long time, and I loved listening to him talk. And there have been so many times when, just out of habit, I've gone to call him. And I realize I haven't really done that in a while because it has been feeling more real. So, last year, early on in the year, my dad had for a few months, for a while, probably longer than he told us, just not been feeling well. He had been having a really hard time sleeping and having what he called a sour stomach and just feeling really tired, and finally had gone to see a new doctor just to have like a physical, and his doctor basically told him that his symptoms were just from being overweight and he just needed to lose some weight. And I think he did end up making a referral to GI. So when I saw him, that was probably in February. And when I saw him in March, I just was asking him some questions because something just felt off to me. And I said, Dad, did the doc actually, examine your belly? Did he put his hands on your belly? And my dad said, well, no, not really. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's like, he's not using his diaphragm, because we do a lot of diaphragm release in my practice, and I've learned quite a bit from my time working with birth fits. I was like, I just want to practice on him and see what I see. So I had him lay down, and the second that he laid down, I could see a very obvious mass over his liver. You certainly didn't have to be a trained professional to notice that. and put my hands on his upper right belly, and I could feel it, just a big mass over his liver. And I think I just immediately knew. I immediately knew that it was not going to be good news. So from that point, it took like 6 weeks for us to finally get a diagnosis, and it was advanced metastatic pancreatic cancer that had spread all over his body. And I don't think that if he would have gotten a diagnosis, when he saw his doctor, or, I don't know that would have changed the prognosis. I mean, when we heard pancreatic cancer, we pretty much knew that we didn't have very much time. So I think what just frustrates me so much is that doctor didn't even put his hands on my dad's belly. And for me, it was such a lesson. Like, you always have to examine your patients and do your due diligence. And that for me was just so frustrating, because I just think we could have had a little more time. My dad's cancer spread so quickly that from the time he was diagnosed until the day he died was only about 6 weeks. They had said, if we can get you into treatment, you might have 8 months. So, we had hoped that we'd have a little more time, but we didn't. It was so fast. So incredibly fast. And his condition deteriorated so quickly that he really didn't even have time to undergo any kind of treatment. It was pretty much just palliative care from the get-go. And that was incredibly hard and shocking to go through. So the week that he died, I unexpectedly attended a birth of a sweet baby boy whose birthday party I got to attend yesterday. And then I basically turned around and flew back to San Diego with Gray, who was like 20 months at the time. And we were with my family for just a couple of days before my dad died. So I'll never forget the morning that he passed. He was acting really disoriented, and so my mom and I kind of knew. And here I am with my 20-month-old son, and Gray was amazing. I was in there helping my mom, and my dad was so out of it and just really in and out. And Gray crawled up on the bed next to him and just patted his arm, and it was just amazing. Just the sweetest source of comfort for everybody. And it happened pretty fast. He passed around 10 in the morning. And I will never forget that we had a lot of June gloom in San Diego. It was really cloudy and just gray. And the morning that he passed, it was sunny and clear, and that's pretty unusual for, around 10 a.m. Usually that marine layer kind of burns off in the afternoon, but it was sort of like everything just opened up to welcome him home. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is just like birth. When I attend births, there's that final stage when mom is pushing. And you're telling her, you're almost there. Baby's almost here. And you're calling to baby, and it's a state of being between worlds. And then baby is born. And I remember sitting there stroking my dad's face and just telling him, you're almost there. You're almost there, Dad. It's okay to let go. He was so incredibly brave through the whole thing. And so strong. And I'm so grateful that I got to be there, but it was definitely the hardest thing that I've done so far in this lifetime. But I'm so incredibly grateful to him because in so many ways, I think we all fear death. And I think the greatest gift that he left me with is just knowing that death is not the end. That's just stepping out of our physical body. And we don't have to be so afraid. And especially with everything that 2020 has brought us, having that lesson from my dad has been so incredibly invaluable. And man, I thought 2019 was a really, really rough year, but 2020 has definitely given 2019 a run for its money. And yet still, losing my dad will forever top, what is going on this year. So I wanted to share that and sort of process through it, because when we made the decision to have another baby, we had been thinking about having another baby, particularly me, and I just felt very, very strongly that over the summer after my dad died, I wasn't ready to try to get pregnant. I was dealing with a lot of insomnia and anxiety, especially right after his death. And we had planned on trying to maybe conceive in September, which would have meant we would have had a May baby. So it wasn't until January when I just felt very strongly that it was time, that my baby was ready. And that's when we conceived. And so I know that this little one, bring it to me. I know that this little one is a gift from my dad. And I am so confident that he is going to bring a lot of healing and light and comfort to our family. And I know that he was handpicked by my dad for us. So thank you for listening. Mom duty calls, but I think I'm going to sit out here and just breathe for a little bit longer.